hanging your pretzels.
They eat a really small pizza. They eat dead stuff, eat blackberries. Man, chill on them breadsticks.
Yeah, he's like, I only got one. He's like, well, there's only 3.
There's 2 slices and a big soda for $1.99. Still a $5 hot and ready though. That sweet sugary sauce.
Winco pizza. Get a gun and you can get your food.
Peanut butter though.
There is peanut butter. There's lots of peanut butter. If you want to know about the peanut butter, we talk about the peanut butter.
Bear eating people in the woods, found footage style.
Hey y'all, I'm Nick.
And I'm Adam.
And welcome to Additional Crew. You might be asking, what are we doing out here with a jar of peanut butter, a GameCube game, and a VHS?
Good times.
Welcome to Additional Crew, the spoiler-heavy review show where we choose whatever random film we want to talk about, or sometimes the film chooses us. This episode we bring to you, in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, 2 college seniors enter the devastated Western Appalachian Mountains to study black bears. Their project spirals into terror as they begin to realize nature doesn't change. It evolves. I am, of course, talking about Jake Casey's Payne's Branch. That is a 2025
working title.
Footage.
Two dudes, one bear.
It would be a good title too. I can't leave my trail cam behind because I'm a working college student. It was a little bit too long, I think. But so this is a found footage film. We'll learn from the interview from Jake that you'll hear later that we're going to call this movie mumblecore because I love that term. When he said that term, I fell in love with it because I'd never heard it before. But this movie is now mumblecore canon, and it's related to bears in a way. But also, as I was mentioning just a second ago, you will hear an interview with Jake Casey. He's the actor-director of this film. So stay tuned for that. It was a wonderful interview. Really enjoyed getting to talk to the gentleman. But before we jump into the rest of all that, let me introduce your co-host. I'm Nick, and with me is Adam, the VHS Goblin.
Hello.
How's it going, Adam?
It's going good. Look, I got a snack hound. See?
Oh, okay. That's
and you put your burger in there, but he's got a pretzel tail, so you can hang your pretzels off of his tail, and he's got these little leather ears, so you can have your chili dog and your pretzels.
See, is it wrong of me that I immediately thought like, well, that doesn't look like you can eat it with his tail instead of hanging your pretzels on it?
I mean, you could try. You do what you need to do. Yeah, that's how I'm doing.
See, that's
snack hound, and you know what I'm saying. Also, I don't watch the news because let's see. It's this little owl, and this is how everything makes me feel. Oh, how I suffer. So this is like one of those 70s tchotchkes. Like, I love these stupid things, man. So yeah, on some Aqua Teen Hunger Force clip in the future, I'm sure that guy will be hanging out there.
Wonderful. I like these like existential ones where it's like it's a cutesy animal, but also at the same time you get this like existential kind of quote with it. So that's perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we agree. You know,
I like minimizing big feelings with whimsy.
Yeah.
You had a GameCube game there. What was it?
I did. So this is our little show off corner, if you can't tell, but this is Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2. So this is a game that I was very happy to find because it's a game. I had a friend who we played it with when we were younger, and this came out, and it was on the Dreamcast that we played it, right? And I'd never had a Dreamcast.
Yeah, I had it on the Dreamcast too.
Yeah, TSO. And I never had the Dreamcast. I never had the GameCube, but I love that game. Like, I would go over to my friends, like, let's play that. And eventually he gets bored of it, but I never did. I never got bored of it. And finally, now I have my own copy where I can play it whenever I want. And you have no idea how excited that makes me. And so I've already beat the first area. I'm headed into the second area. And it's just as awesome as I remember it. So, like, this is apparently one of the more rare games. I got lucky finding this thing. But as you can see, I've added a GameCube, and that was, like, the first thing I really wanted. And then it was there at Epic Seconds. So, you know, it wasn't, like, super cheap.
GameCube.
But I had never had one before. This is the first one I had.
I loved it. I had the little plug-in for the Game Boy Advance and the whole thing. And GameCube was... I was a Nintendo guy. I like Nintendo. I don't think I didn't own like a real PlayStation to like the PS5. I just used other people's. I guess we had a PS2 around, but yeah, no, I like Nintendo stuff, and GameCube was like pretty sick. There's some good games on the GameCube, man. Fantasy Star is dope. There's a ton of great games.
No,
Awesome, good for you.
yeah, that's real. I had a PS2, and it was just one of those things at the time. That was what I chose, and then my friend had the GameCube, but of course he only liked Fantasy Star Online for so long, and that was about as long as the song 6 Feet from the Edge by Creed was popular. Same exact time, and I remember that because I was playing this game, and he would put that song on repeat one. So shout out D Smith. You have on one hand, every time I see this game, I do have a vague memory of Creed playing in the background. It's kind of intense because it doesn't go away, and
that song's so bad.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not. It's a pleasant memory at least, right? So like Creed, I wouldn't throw on, but it is so funny how every time I turn it on, every time I see the splash screen, I'm choosing my character. I just hear, "Oh man, now."
Oh, I know the song. Yeah. I'm aware.
I mean, I can sing more of it if you wanted me
Go
to.
ahead.
So, I don't really want to. I'm kidding. Because that would sully the review of Payne's
Branch guys. How's it going? Here's Nick's rendition of.
And we're gonna do that for 2 hours because that's what repeat one is like.
There's this guy on YouTube called Skull Mug who does these like awesome shorts that are like really, I don't know, but there's one that's like Drunk Simulator, and it's like guy at 3 a.m, and that's the song that's playing in the background. He's just pounding Coors Lights, doing cookies in a parking lot.
That's it right there. It was funny because back then Creed was one of those bands that like had guitar riffs, and D Smith had the CD, and I remember it was awesome because since they called themselves Christian, you could get them. Like you could talk your parents into anything. See, now he went the Creed path, and I went like under oath path. So I was like, oh, they call themselves Christian, they're screaming and they're fighting each other in mosh pits. I need that aggression in my life, please. It's just two different strokes of the same pen. I think I got there with that analogy. I hope I said it. And I didn't know.
In an atheist household, so I just had like whatever, like Guns N' Roses and Vixen, and I think the first album I ever got in like second grade was Cinderella. Like nobody cared.
See, my parents were overly religious, right? But like they were like worried about what we watched because the Judas Priest and all that stuff was happening at the same time.
Yeah, Quiet Riot, Judas. We had that. Yeah, no, there was Dungeons and Dragons books in my house.
We did have Metallica, strangely enough. But one thing I remember is that I found a Nelly CD on the side of the road, and I traded it to my friend for a Linkin Park CD. Like, this is how old we're talking about. This is physical media. We didn't have the internet to go to, so we couldn't. You had to trade things. You had to find ways to get it. And so I was listening to this Linkin Park CD, and I'm just, Walkman on, heads on. I'm just like bopping my head. And my mom comes in, and she's like, "What are you listening to?" Apparently I look too excited or something, you know what I mean? So she puts it on, and it is that song, One Step Closer. And it's right as the singer starts yelling, "Shut up when I'm talking to you."
Yeah.
And I have never, she just hated it. And it's funny because eventually she ended up taking me to the concert. Like, this is like a year later.
Oh, sick.
Like I didn't give it up, and I don't know.
Then.
It was just one of those funny little memories, and this is all related to Phantasy Star because it's all around the same time. So this is the issue with playing games from your youth, and it's the issue, but it's also the great part is it just drags everything up, and it kind of puts it there for you.
Nostalgia straight into your veins, man.
Still a good game though. Like objectively, still a good game. It's not one of those like I just wish it was a good game. It just actually is a good game.
Yeah, though I get it. There's games I go back and play still to this day, and I still think they're great. A lot of games don't hold up, but some do. Yeah,
I don't need to segue this whole into a game thing. We'll talk about those at some point, I'm sure.
Around that time when that music and games were coming out, I worked at the McDonald Theater downtown. I had just gotten to town, and I had just started there, and we had these people that were putting piles of rocks and sticks in front of the theater. And why was that? That was because we had playing this new movie called The Blair Witch Project. Wonderful. And it was a found footage thing. I'm sure everybody's probably heard of it at this point, but the premise is kids go out in the movie or in the woods with a video camera and they're doing a mockumentary or a documentary, and crazy things happen, and then somebody finds the tape and they turn it in. When this movie first came out, though, nobody had ever heard of a mockumentary before, so some people took it serious. It was kind of a fun time in the movie space. And so then you had like follow-ups, like Cloverfield was kind of like a found footage kind of movie, the first one especially. Payne's Branch kind of falls into that same vein. Transition. What's up, big dog?
So Payne's Branch is a film with just two main characters. There's one other guy who's credited for this film, but we're gonna say the two main characters.
Professor.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Chris Casey, I assume related to Jake Casey in some way, shape, or form. If not, crazy coincidence. So we have Jake, who's played by Jake Casey, and Thomas, who's played by Thomas Tartar, and they are putting together a senior project for their college career.
College, correct.
And
this is their keystone.
Their keystone, thank you. They did have a specific term for it. And I believe they're at Appalachia State, if I remember right. So they're putting this together, and they decided to do a study of black bears after a hurricane hits the area, as we said earlier. Mm-hmm. And they have a good idea. They follow through on it, and it turns into something else completely because the black bears have changed, I guess. I am adding in a little bit of subtext there because we don't really know a lot about these bears. What we end up knowing a lot about is Jake and Thomas. So the plot of this film is very simple. Two guys need to make, a documentary about these bears that they're looking at. They use trail cams, and they go and check the trail cams, and they learn the history of the area they're in. They learn about bears. There's a joke about them not knowing how to read, so they learn about bears from picture books.
They eat a really small pizza.
They get a very small pizza. So the story itself, I don't think, and I should preface all this. This review is going to look a little different, and I don't mean that in any shocking way towards the film. It's just that with a movie like this, which is so shoestring budget, 100% dedication of the people who are making it just to get this out there and put it out there. I want to respect it in a way that is not comparing it to films with gigantic budgets who actually have enough to get on advertising, who actually have enough to do certain things, because this is people who clearly made this thing out of passion.
Right.
So if you're looking for something that is like really solid and polished and it's going to automatically entertain you without you having to use your empath skills at all, this isn't going to be what you're looking for. However, if you are interested in using your empath skills, seeing someone who may have a lot bright future ahead of them, who has some good things going on this and some things that we're going to talk about a little bit, this is something worth watching. And it was entertaining and enjoyable the whole way through. So that's like the short reviews, that it was entertaining, and I didn't feel at any point that I was slipping out of it. So they got something there.
I stayed focused. Yes, the movie is about finding the bear, and the bear, let's be clear, spoilers, obviously, the bear does show up at the end for no time. And the bear it's not a horror movie. It's a character study on two kids that are going to school and trying to come to grips with the reality of the world, right? That's the movie. The stuff happening around it and kind of the M. Night Shyamalan bear attack at the end, was just punctuation points, it felt like, on just, this is what we're doing, and now but yeah, it's not a bear attack movie. It's not Cocaine Bear. It's a pretty in-depth character study about two kids, and they used VHS as the vehicle for movies for the vehicle for their art. And one, takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there like that, especially at the level that they're pushing. And two, I think that this movie will probably be misunderstood by a lot of people because they're probably going to go into it expecting it to be one thing and not the other. But as far as like how I watched it as a character study, I don't know. I liked the kids. I had a good time. I paid attention to what was happening. Like, I noticed things that I don't notice in a lot of movies that are just too much candy. So, yeah, no. It's art, and it's somebody
Hmm.
working
Hmm.
really hard on honing a specific part of their art and a craft in it, which is like, well, I'll never talk trash on that. I'd much rather watch that than so much other things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, 100%. It's like the story of this movie, going back to the story, is just the character development that you see between the two. And so, as we've learned, and it's pretty obvious in this film, is that the character development is the same thing you'd see from two people who are kind of going into a field that don't know exactly what the future lies ahead for them.
Yeah,
And they're trying their best to make it work, but they don't know that it will work. So, you kind of
right.
see the struggle happening where they're like, we have to have this thing, but it doesn't feel like it's doing well, but also it's too late for us to pivot, so we have to make it work.
Yeah, their project, they're just not getting the footage that they're looking for. They're not seeing the signs that they're looking for. And I think that they bring that panic into it, and they kind of have to work together and figure it out. But I think there's a lot of like, that transitionary period in humans' lives between like, well, I've been, taken care of up until this point. But then on the other side of that project or that schooling that they do, it's, oh, now you're taking care of yourself. It's, you're out in the world. And I think that kids nowadays, especially probably people Jake's age and stuff, this is probably something they hyper focus on because it's a very real thing for them. And that's honestly, for me, that's where a lot of the strength of this movie came. It was just from the honesty of two kids and how they felt about their prospects in life, right? Like, you don't hear a lot of kids talking about that. They usually just meme it up, and I get that. Meme through the pain, brothers. I get it. But like, this was like a real open wound,
Hmm.
and like,
Hmm.
respect it.
Well, and they allowed themselves to be hopeful and like optimistic about the future, which is like that's hard because if you're hopeful and optimistic, that means you have a path towards failure. And
So when you're hopeful and optimistic, and you're like, oh, we finally got this stuff figured out, then all of a sudden a bear comes out of the woods and nails you. You're dead. That's how this works. That's how real life works. He figured it out. He knows.
right, well, yeah. As soon as they're like being thankful for each other, they're like, "I'm gonna miss you. We're going on to real life. Oh
Oh
my gosh,
yeah.
things are gonna go great." And the bear's like, "Bye, see ya." Um, which that's is the true reality of it all. So yeah, from there were basically no
Kind of
lines that
like
were
Kevin
written for
Smith's
this.
Clerks, right? Though, like that whole movement and two people kind of challenging each other, and then
Hmm.
like the original cut, where he gets shot at the end. It kind of gave me that feeling where like, oh, these two kids might be okay. You know.
Yeah, as soon as you think it, there were no lines basically written for this. A lot of this play is just kind of an open journal between the two of them with a loose improv based on scenario that they're supposed to be in. And the scenarios are all rather simple. If you were watching the movie, there's no part of this plot that's hard to follow. It's hard to call the plot the entertaining or important part because it's really just not. It's like they're gonna try to find bears. You already kind of know based on the subtext of
The
watching this
movie could have
film.
been about just about anything.
Hmm. They could have still got attacked by a bear at the end of this movie if they didn't even include it, and it still would have felt the same, pretty
Just didn't
much.
even talk about bears at
Hmm.
all. It's just
Hmm.
like they take a spring break trip or something, and at the end, a bear just appears.
The Bears were really just a vehicle for the whole Yankee slash Southern dichotomy that they had between the
Mm-hmm.
two of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's played for comedy. It doesn't ever feel like anything too serious or any like giant more large subtext on our culture in general here in America. It just feels like it's simply two dudes poking fun at each other.
Yeah, 100%.
So
No, it felt like hanging out with the homies.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, wasn't
And
bad.
so for that purpose, I would say, as far as the story goes, it's nothing ultimately very like overly exciting. And if it's in line with the mumblecore movies that Jake told me about, so I kind of did a look around, and they have similar buildups where like the ending and kind of what you see isn't exactly based on what you're watching prior, but there is some elements of that, and that's what we see. So like if you look at the movie's ramp towards the end, it gets you there, and like there's a lot of parts that are kind of repetitive, not repetitive, but they are repeating. They do repeat themselves a lot in different ways, right?
Intentionally, but yeah, it's that slow burn conversation, right? Back and forth. Like, why are they doing that? Because that's just what people do, dude. Like, we have the same conversations. Like, it's just the normalcy, right? There was a definite normalcy to everything that they were doing to a point.
And they did do a really good job of making it all feel very grounded. Even the weirdness of the bears, like, okay, the bears were weird, but they weren't so out there weird where you're like, oh my gosh, the bones being everywhere. I guess that was a little strange, but other
Yeah.
than that, it's just, I don't know. Maybe this is my understanding of the Appalachians, and like, yeah, bears are just everywhere. They could just do whatever they want. Oh, and maybe that's wrong, but it feels very grounded in
I
reality.
don't
It
know.
just
We had that property. We had a bear that lived on it. Yeah, it did whatever it wanted. It's a
mm-hmm.
bear. What are you gonna do?
Oh, they don't care,
It didn't really. Black bears, though, the thing is, and like I don't think they talk about it a ton in this movie, is black bears are scavengers, so they eat dead stuff. They'll eat meat, but they ain't really going after anything like that. So the fact that like a bear was able to catch and eat a deer, a black bear, not a grizzly bear, a black bear, they ain't really like that. So them becoming super carnivorous because of lack of foliage, probably in the way of berries out here. It's blackberries. That's what keep the bears calm out here. They just eat blackberries. It's probably the same there. It's probably fucking blackberries. They're everywhere.
Okay, do you think they're called berries because bears eat them?
Yes.
So that's a side note, but you said berries 3 times with the bear in between. I'm like, that's the same word. You keep saying it. And you weren't. It was different
Like in
words
the
you were
movie
saying.
where they said bearable or unbearable multiple times, and I loved it every time. I'm
Oh, man.
Canadian. I love dry humor like that. Even if they didn't intend to do it, I still chuckled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'll just talk about the parts that I think they could have done maybe a little bit better here, real quick, because this isn't like a harsh critique on the film. This is just like, here's what I noticed that I think if you were tightening up this sort of thing and you were working on something in the future, which Jake, if you're listening to this, work on something in the future. Keep that dream, because you got a lot of good charisma, you got a lot of good energy. The editing for the story in particular is that the repetition of lines that are happening is good, but when they're happening within the same scene, that happens multiple times where I heard him say something and then a few seconds later he would say the exact same thing, and that would be Thomas, and then Jake would then reiterate the same thing that they just said, so I'd hear the same basic line 3 times in a row with no movement otherwise, which I get it, especially if you're ad libbing or you're improvising on the spot, right? And it's an emotion that feels like means a lot to you, because as we've seen, these are emotions. These are what they were going through at the time. So of course, as college students, this is what they care about. And I know that everyone gets on a speech tangent and they feel that emotion, and they're like, "Oh, I got to get this out of me. I'm going to say something profound right now," and it is good. But when you're editing that for the movie, just be careful that you don't include the same line like 3 times in a row. That campfire scene at the end after the song played, it was wonderful. It was lovely, but Thomas did say the same thing like 3 times back to back to back, the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I love that, but also, dang, dude, that was like a minute and a half of me hearing the same line.
Yeah, I don't assume that it was intended repetition. Maybe it was. I mean, how don't you catch that?
It's this is why also having a dedicated editor is good, because you're basically saying you are forced to watch the whole film and go through it again. When you make a film, it's also really hard to go through and watch yourself the whole
Boy, I do
time.
like it when one person does everything though, like he did in this. I do appreciate it because it's got their marks all over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're good marks. Like I promise I don't mean this in any intentionally terrible way. And like as a reviewer, I think they'll understand where I'm coming from. It's just one of those things. Like,
if you're gonna make films, grow through criticism. It's
yeah,
very
exactly.
important.
There were a lot of good little jokes hidden within this. I remember with the shades joke, like, doesn't that make me look cool? I did laugh because it was so silly, like just so obnoxiously silly. And obnoxiously silly was a place for this shine, when you could tell that both Thomas and Jake didn't necessarily exactly even believe what they were saying. They're just saying it because they were being goofy. It was actually pretty fun to watch. So, like, leaning into the character and being willing to be the like utmost version of that character really worked in this movie. So that's something that I think, you keep drawing that out. Every time you wanted to bring them back to normalcy or bring them back to the middle, maybe like just keep them going in their own ways a little bit. what also worked was all the real stuff, like the pizzas being too small. You already mentioned it, but like stuff like that
Love it.
really drew you into these characters because you
It
could feel who they
did.
are.
I will say, as a person, if I had a lane, my lane's practical effects, boys. And the way the bear was poking his nose into the tent, fantastic. Loved it. Whatever it was, a mop, it doesn't matter. It was perfect. Great. And the quick clip at the end with the bear that was obviously a dude in the bear suit, perfect. Loved it. So yeah, practical effects on point. Keep that up with your practical effects. People that are going to be watching your movies want to see art. They don't, keep that kind of stuff up. That stuff's a lot of fun. The conversations did get drony at points. You did very much do a lot of repetition, a lot of, I understand what you were trying to do here, but a lot of the points were, you made the point in 10 seconds and you did it for a minute and a half. It felt like I was hanging out with the boys, so it was fine. I was giving you your space to speak, but in a movie, I don't know, but maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe mumblecore, that's what it means. But sometimes it just felt like I was waiting for the conversation to move, exactly like Nick was saying. I was just waiting for the cart to be moved down the road a little bit. And then, you get a little frustrated when you hear the same thing 3 times or a few times and it's repeated to you. And you're like, yeah, I got it the first time.
It feels like at a point you're really begging the audience not to pay attention, and that's not a good thing.
I don't know, but if it's the intention, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, if that is the case, then you've nailed it. You can look at what we're saying here and be like, "Gotcha, I got you the whole time." The tension through the story is supposed to be. There's 2 things that were the main points of tension for me. 1, are you going to get the grade? And 2, what's going on with this bear? Because it scares you a couple different times when you feel it.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
we got the second point. The second point I think you did fine on, because you had those moments where you brought it back to the bear, like when Jake goes to the trail and he like is just looking on his own for a second. He hears something and gets scared. You're like, okay, bear's still there. We get it. We haven't seen it, but we get it. Or like the really blacked out pictures where they're like, oh, look at those little dots that are floating over there. I think that's a bear. Fine, that all works for me. The tension of not getting the grade in school, I think that maybe you could have had that play a little bit more in these repetition parts.
It so well up to a point, right?
And it was probably around like the 2/3 when they're getting close to finished with it, when we keep hearing about how close they are to finished with it, but we don't hear anything about what they've actually got. And I know we're supposed to be seeing it, but also like we weren't seeing anything.
I mean, that trifold was lit.
The trifold was lit. And
could you imagine turning that in for like a capstone or keystone project with your homie? You're like at a university and you bring that in and you're like, look.
I did for one of my environmental studies classes, right? And this wasn't my keystone, but we had to do
those papers were visibly crumpled.
They were, right? And that's a good sign. One of my environmental science classes, we had to do a project where at the end we had to give a speech at a little conference, and they asked for trifolds. So I think there's something there too, but it's just so funny because when you see it in a movie, it doesn't usually play like that in a movie. And,
we've
it
all
felt
made
good.
Those. Yeah. I just loved how terribly they put theirs together. Purposefully, it had to be. Well, what about this big blank space? Just put a big picture of a bear there.
Just make it look cool. Who cares, man?
A plus.
Yes. And that's how the conversation would go too.
But I think, you were doing a character study about the stress that these guys were going through and what their future looked like and stuff. And I just know that your grade was way more important than you ended. And maybe you just didn't have time to do that or anything. But I get what Nick's saying. Like, that was the more stressful point, right? Like, God forbid a bear eat me. How lucky would you be?
Well, like, and also the only reason
a free ticket. Great.
The only reason the bear ate you is because you basically kept going out into its place after he already gave you a warning.
You asked
right?
him to eat you.
Yeah, and then you had a whole speech about your future in a place where you knew bears exist. Come on, that's like your fault at that point, really.
No, I get it.
But
they chose the bear. I understand.
But like the only thing is with the school stuff again, and you talked about it enough. Just make it more tense, right? Because like we're watching these people go and find books, we're watching them, or we're looking at them read books, and it all seems like a major inconvenience. And I can get how in life that can be, but it wouldn't feel that way necessarily if schools played up more important on how much this grade means to you. Like, if I don't get an A plus and this is perfect, I will fail out and I will have all the student loan debt and I won't have anything to show for it, because that's a real scenario for people. Trust me, you
Yeah, you
have
started
something there.
crossing that. They started crossing that bridge where they were
Mm-hmm.
speaking from the heart, and they seemed a little shy to cross it too hard. Do it, rip it. People want to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Throw me the importance.
You
In
don't
this,
need a budget if that's what you're doing.
the lack of a budget would play into it, really, and it does in this movie in a lot of ways. Like, when you're broke and you don't have the pizza, and we know what movie we're watching right now, that realness is felt. And we bring up that part just because it's a fantastic part of this film, like that real peek behind the curtains for a second, and showing like, yeah, this is our characters, but also this is us. It's a
I
great
felt
part to
so
watch.
bad when they opened up that pizza box because you could tell they were gonna and when dudes eating you could tell they were actually like, this is our food. He's like, man, chill on them breadsticks.
It's like, I only got one. He's like, well, there's only three.
The struggle is real, dude. Luckily, when I was in college, we had the pizza pipeline in Eugene. You roll up in there and get 2 slices and a big soda for $1.99. So we were living large.
You gotta find that apartment that's close to a Little Caesars at this point, because if you don't, you're in trouble.
Is it still a $5 hot and ready though?
I think it's $5.99 now, so they
that
technically
ain't so bad.
themselves.
Get yourself $5 hot and ready and an Arizona iced tea. You good to go for the evening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you can almost certainly afford 2 of those, even if you broke. You gotta find some cans at that point. I'm telling you.
I crave a hot, even at this age. I still, maybe twice a year, I'm like, fuck, I really go for a hot and ready right now. That sweet sugary sauce they put on it.
Yeah, it's real. I smell.
So sorry, boys. Sorry you had to eat whatever that was.
Yeah, if only you had the Little Caesars, man.
That box that pizza came in had to cost more than that pizza.
That box is like the box you get from like cash and carry or whatever store you can get a chef restaurant, where they're like the generic pizza boxes. And I know that as soon as I see it, I'm like, I know exactly what that box is. So you can't be going to either that or you're going to a Winco. Winco uses the same box. So Jake, you can comment and let me know if it's a Winco pizza that you got there, because I would be very fun to find
Winco's
out.
just a here thing.
I mean, it could be, man. I got one in California. That's where I remember. But like,
really?
California and Oregon are close enough that it might still just be a here
the
thing.
Oregon thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, specifically, whatever.
You can get a gun and you can get.
There's
your,
no Weimar
food
in this movie.
There
is peanut butter though.
There is peanut butter. There's lots of peanut butter, and if you want to know about the peanut butter, listen to the interview. Okay, we talk about the peanut butter a lot because it's an important part of this film. But yeah, so essentially with the story for me, what it is that, one, it's not overly important, and 2, they could have played it just a little bit differently and changed the tension up a little bit, and maybe like with removal of the repetition, they could have had more time to play the tension.
They were 2 real kids playing 2 real kids, and there wasn't a lot of feigned emotion, right? And so there never really felt like palpable stress because they didn't care. They were just 2 kids going through it, So I think that what you're saying, and I get, there would be so much more engagement if you just played it up a bit.
Yeah, and I do think
that feel free to make an ass of yourself while doing things. Like, don't worry about judgment and stuff when you're making films. Just go whole hog every time.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. And the more ridiculous it is, trust me, rip it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that like in this, every time the camera's on, Jake and Thomas feel like they're in control of themselves. Like, that might be a part of them playing it off of a student project. But even if it is, I think it's more entertaining to watch it without the control of yourself as much.
Yeah, definitely super likable though.
Oh, for sure. And we'll talk about this. Let's talk about acting, because the acting will be really simple, right? So again, you've got the 3 roles that are credited, and one's the professor, and I'm not even going to count him in this because it doesn't matter. Jake Casey's directing.
I'm sorry, he matters. I'm apologizing to him directly. You matter. You're probably Jake's dad, and in the interview, I understand that Jake said he lives with you, and you're a great man for letting your son create art and working on it with him. Now, if you aren't related at all or some way different, sorry, but Yeah, him as an actor, it was a stiff dialogue, but not off of what any college professor would sound like, and did seem interested in the topic at hand. But yeah, 2 minutes maybe of the movie.
Yeah, and that is what I mean. I agree. Thank you, Adam, also for giving him the credit he deserves, because you do. And if you hear that, trust me, I don't mean you don't matter, but I do mean in the context of like acting overall
No,
in
you're
this
helping
film.
take care of an artist, right, brother?
Yeah, yeah.
Thankless work.
In the context of the movie, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But with Jake and Thomas, I would say the acting is fairly stiff. Um, it works. I mean, like it's hard to be a really good actor and also be a really good director at the same time. And the fact that most lines are improv, you can feel it, but also you can feel the reality and the truth in the lines when there is the reality and the truth in the lines. When we're kind of making stuff up, you can also feel that a little bit, and that's it's something that I think comes with understanding and with better editing, which is just a thing that's going to be hard to do on yourself. Trust me, I release hour and a half long podcasts because I can't edit myself down to 30 minutes. I'm
I've
not
been
trying to be
doing
hypocritical.
I've been doing editing for a piece I'm doing on the last Starfighter and the alien races in it, right? And so it takes so long to do anything, especially when you're just getting started at it. I am so bad. Like yeah, so I get it. Editing is tough. Just time consuming. Um there was a truth in your guys' acting, I guess that's the word I'll use, an honesty. It didn't feel fake. You guys were playing yourselves and it felt like that. That's why I would, mumblecore is great, but it does have that mockumentary jam because it was just you. um I think you're both very likable, and so that means I liked your characters and I liked the roles that you played. The dialogue was stingy with its depth. um and there can be growth there, but I genuinely like the relationship. I genuinely like the conversations, and it felt like a comfortable hangout with some bros. So I paid attention. I enjoyed. That goes a long way for me. Yeah, I felt comfortable through the whole movie. It was a good time, and that's all I ask for when I watch something. And then if somebody's really expressing themselves and putting themselves out there, well, that great, all the better. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the characters weren't. There just wasn't a lot of like, oh, during this scene when their grandparents die. It's just there was nothing like that. It was mundane, which is fine. Um, so many great movies are just a mundane day. Um, yeah, I guess what I gotta say about it. Obviously you're new to acting, and there's stuff you can work on, but don't ever lose that like realness and that
Yeah,
truth to your words, because I believed you. I believed you the whole time.
I, I I do think that part of that mundane that you're talking about is might be why it's a little bit harder to act more natural sometimes, because when you're trying to act like everything's okay when you're
Right,
going through stuff, that can be
right.
hard, especially if you're actually feeling emotions about it. Like we see the pizza and we talk about the pizza part because that's real, and they're really upset. And then on other parts, there's things that aren't like he's not getting anything for his camera. He's like, I'm frustrated. Get frustrated, man. Feel that frustration. Be like, dude, this
Yeah,
is a big thing, and I need to finish it. There's
yeah.
nothing there. Like, like get mad at it a little bit, but you're also in control and you're calm.
It might be a generational thing too, but emotions and implications don't read well on screen when they're subdued. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you have to put emphasis on it, a little stank on it.
Not everyone can be Marlon Brando, and most people shouldn't be. So,
When I was growing up, my buddy Luke lived on this hill in a town called Kalama just down the road. And you know who his neighbor was? Christian Brando,
no, with relation,
son of Marlon Brando.
the religious part. Okay, that was a stupid joke. Okay, let's move on.
Look up this guy though. Like
Okay.
he got in all sorts of trouble and then went and hid, and
Yeah,
that's why
well,
he lived in the woods.
after hearing more about Apocalypse Now and stuff like that, I don't know that Marlon Brando should have been as not in trouble as he was.
Boy.
But we won't get into that. This is not the place. So let's move into our next little part here. Check out this interview with Jake Casey, actor and director of Payne's Branch. Welcome into Additional Crew. Nick and Adam here today speaking with Jake Casey, director and actor from Payne's Branch. Jake, how are things going in your neck of the woods?
It's going great, man. It's that spring weather, so I was trying to go out and enjoy it, but then it just started downpouring, so you just never know what to expect. So it's crazy down here in the South for sure.
I'm
What
happy to
state
hear
are
gave
you
you an
in?
excuse to come
North
in.
Carolina?
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina. Yep.
Sick. Let's go ahead and jump into this review. Thanks again for joining us. I'm going to start off with a question that immediately came to my mind as soon as we started this movie. How many takes did it get you to get that peanut butter jar open?
That's a good question. Some took a little less than others. I think towards the end we started to get it dialed down a little bit, but the first one took a good little bit because it was like we are trying to get it to cut, but we also didn't want to look like we were struggling too hard because we didn't want people to be like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, right? So it took a few takes. Probably like about 6 or 7 good takes. There was a bunch of times it was like we're taking too long. So then I actually cutted it, like edited it in between. So like we cut it a little bit of it, then the camera cuts and it shows it dropping off. But there was a little more of a struggle that I just didn't put in the film.
Yeah, these are like the small details that would always get me worked up. I know, like if I'm in the middle of it, I'm like opening it up, I'm like, I'm gonna look like an idiot. Oh God, okay, and then just
Right.
take it again. So as I'm watching, I'm like, this has got to be a pressure point
I was
immediately.
worried you're going to stab yourself in the hand.
Yeah, no, we actually did. I had a little cut, and I just rolled with it. I just improv it. I was like, oh, well, I cut my finger, and I was like, well, it's gonna be. So I might as well just rolled it. Yeah, no, it was bad. I showed it to my parents after they got done watching, and they were freaked out, like we were doing that with the knife one. I was like, oh, sorry, mom.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to fire something off here. So, obviously this film's going to get like put alongside like mockumentaries, right? Or things of that nature. So you would think like Cloverfield or Blair Witch or something like that would be the idea behind it. So that, not everybody. How would you describe this style of movie or this movie in particular to somebody who's like never heard of it? Like what's the
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say because we got mixed reviews. Some people from the found footage community were like, we like the slow burn, and then other people from it like, we want more scares. And I think both are very valid points and stuff I'll take with me as I, progress my filmmaking journey. But I was really inspired, actually not by found footage, but I was really inspired by like early 2000s like mumblecore filmmaking, like that really loose improv naturalistic style. That's kind of what I was basing off of. But also there was some found footage movies that I really liked. Willow Creek was one in particular that I thought kind of had more of a slow burn kind of character dynamic, and then it kind of picked up later with the scares. I was very inspired by Willow Creek. And some other found footage films, but honestly, I really just wanted it to be more like character based. More like a movie that you could sit down and watch, even if you're not like wanting to be
So when
scared.
you say mumbo, give me some
Yeah, like
titles.
Mark Duplass's Puffy Chair was a big influence. His other film Baghead was a big influence on me. A couple other ones like Andrew Chajowski's what's that one he has? I think it's a Mutual Appreciation, stuff like that's really good. So I really enjoy those type of films.
Get it. Awesome.
Okay, cool. You got in your bag there. I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that a
appreciate
lot.
it.
Yeah. Okay. As I'm watching this movie, I want to get a peek behind the curtains a little bit. Like as far as the tech used to make this film, was it all
Yeah.
shot on the shoulder cam that you can kind of see in the shadows, or did you guys have extra setups hanging around?
Nope, it was all point of view camera with a Sony NX800, I believe it was, and then my boom mic, and I just put it right there, shotgun style, run and gun. It was a lot of fun. It was right, just what you saw in that shadow. That's what it was all shot on.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm gonna ask the bear question because you said as someone ignorant to monitoring and tracking bears. I'm not actually. We have a piece of land and we actually have a black bear and a cougar and a bobcat that live on it. We put trail cams out to check them out and what they're
Oh,
doing.
that's awesome.
So the methodology you use there in the Appalachians is putting peanut butter on trees. Is that something that's common there for bringing in wildlife into shot?
Yeah, a lot of times I kind of took it off from deer hunting. A lot of deer hunters, that's kind of like a very cheap way to get feeders and get the deer used to coming to your property. So I was like, I'll just put that in with bears 'cause I'm sure bears would mess with it sometimes. And I've heard people
Well,
say
I'm
bears
sure.
have came and like knocked their peanut butter feeder down. I called it a redneck deer feeder. That's how we did down here in the
Yeah,
South. So I just based it off that because I also liked that it was kind of visually appealing. Like even if people didn't like hunting or if they didn't understand nature or anything like that, they would see like why are they hammering a peanut butter jar to a tree? Like even if you don't know why we're doing that, I feel like it would just keep people, kind of interested.
Everybody likes peanut butter.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
would
I'm
have found
definitely.
me out there sucking on that tree.
I think I saw you on the second.
I was, yeah.
One
I'm
of-
hard to see in the woods.
Yeah, one of my little favorite parts every time you guys are like, this smells so good. And I'm like, that seems goofy, but it's real. It's real.
Yeah, no, we had to take it in.
Speaking of which, I'll ask the final peanut butter related question here. How many jars of peanut butter did you guys actually purchase to get through this movie?
Man, we were in Walmart. We had our hands full. I think we had like 8, 9 big things of peanut butter just walking out of the Walmart over breaking the bags down. It was a mess. We had to go through a lot of peanut butter. We split the cost though, because like we were broke college kids at the time, so that peanut butter was a detriment.
Yeah, dude. That's like 100 meals.
Yeah, no, definitely. 100 meals just to be hammered onto a tree and licked on by deer for 2 months.
Yeah.
Kind of, we were bouncing this around a bit. Would you consider this a horror movie?
No, I was definitely basing it on a horror movie just because I felt like that was the easiest title to give it to. I would call it maybe a little more of like a thriller, but I really don't know what you would call this movie. I kind of just let the critics tell me what they want to call it because I'm not super like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be received. This is just like, this is what it was. I'm happy with how it came out. Some people like how it came out, other people are indifferent on it. Some people hate it. And I'm like, cool, I like all that. Because, like I said, all those reviews I take with me when I'm going on to my next film, and all criticism, positives, I take as compliments and learning experiences.
Well, let me ask you this then. If it was like, I'm a VHS guy, right? And so these kind of like movies are in my wheelhouse. Like I very much enjoyed it. Thought it was great. So what shelf would it be on in the VHS store? So maybe not horror. So we had like cult, thriller.
Maybe thriller. I would probably put on thriller. When I made this film, I kind of said this would be something cool that if they found in like a thrift shop in the DVD section, maybe they'll listen to watch it, something like that. That's kind of my goal for it, just like a kind of hidden gem type thing. But I would definitely say thriller. I think thriller is probably what it would be more accurately said as, because it is kind of like that build up, but it's not like all the time like slasher horror or anything.
So you're walking in there, you're renting Payne's branch. You already know that. What movie are you gonna put with it?
I'm putting Willow Creek with it just because I feel like you'll see the similarities between the two. Because I was really inspired by Willow Creek. I think that's a great film, and then
Sick.
throwing some early 2000s mumblecore in there too.
Dude, you're hitting it out of the park with these. Awesome. Right on.
Straight up. Okay, I'm gonna ask one of the more like questions based on the dialogue near the end. So near the end, there's a lot of dialogue regarding the future, your future career, and what kind of success looks like in comparison to what your dreams were in the youth. And that's both you and your fellow actor in this film. Is that something you focus on a lot? And how does making a movie fit into that mindset for you?
Yeah, I think I really want to put that scene in there because we made this film while we were in college. So we were like trying to really show like, the trials and tribulations and kind of that feeling of like what's next for us. And I think, now I'm out of college and it's been a few months since I've been out of college. It's actually going really good. And a lot of those fears I had, I learned, you brace through it and it's not as bad as you expect. But I kind of wanted to film in that scene to really like speak to kids and people in my age and demographic. And I think my friend Thomas, who was the lead there, I just directed him. I said, because he was feeling those feelings. So it was like very easy for him to just go off and improv. And I was like, just talk about what we've been talking about in the car, like all these conversations that we've been having throughout our college experience. Just let it all out by the fire. And he did an amazing job. And we get a lot of compliments on that scene for sure.
100%. Yeah. It was real, because that's really what's happening to you guys coming out of college right now.
It's tough. It's tough, but I'll tell people, just keep trying. Don't be too attached to any outcome. I think you should just take it day by day. If you get too attached to outcomes, you're leaving yourself open to disappointment. So I like to either be not surprised or pleasantly surprised, but nothing in between.
That's good. That's a good attitude. Hey, Nick, can I steal one of your questions here?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Because I want to talk about football too.
Yeah, okay, yeah, do it.
So you guys are talking about football and the Miami Dolphins, and is that your team?
Oh yeah, diehard Miami Dolphins. I'm from South Florida, so it's diehard.
How do you feel about bringing Willis in?
I'm happy about it. We've suffered for 5 years of Tua, and I was a Tua fan, and I was the one that was constantly every year defending this guy. Like I know how girlfriends feel when they're defending their toxic boyfriends. It was like 5 years. 5 years of
he looked so good the first couple though till he got that major injury, and that usually just puts him off.
Yeah, I think it messed with him mentally too. Like it wasn't even just a physical thing towards the end. It was like he was just scared to get hit, and it was just like you can't have a quarterback out there like that. But I'm happy for Willis. I think we got him for somewhat cheap. I mean, he's still expensive, but for like I think a 3-year deal, that's not too bad. And
No,
he can
I think
run.
he's
He's
a lot
mobile.
better than what people think he is.
For sure, for sure. And if he's not, then we just tank and get a new one. I feel like it's like a win-win for us.
The next year quarterback draft is so good, dude. It's worth waiting. We're from Oregon, Eugene. Just draft Dante Moore and be happy with the rest of your life.
Look, I wish we drafted the last Oregon quarterback, y'all. So I'll take your word on that.
Dante Moore's awesome. Cool, dude. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're football guys. He's a Raider fan, so he's happy right now. His team's getting put together, and I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm just in the afterglow, you know.
Good for you, and yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. But Seahawks fans, y'all been very spoiled.
I
We live in
understand
the
that.
Pacific Northwest, and our football team is good, dude. It ain't tough. It ain't tough out here.
It's not. I might have to come down there, but I'll still be repping my Dolphins. That's for sure.
Somebody asked.
Okay, I'll ask another movie question about the movie.
Yeah,
This should be a pretty simple answer. At the end of the movie, which one of y'all wore the bear suit?
you're talking to him right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I was in the Bears suit. It was just kind of a decision on like I'm a little taller than Thomas, and kind of felt like if I could maybe play it off a little bit better for like 5 seconds. I liked his idea though. His idea was when it hits the ground because I knew I had to keep it low just to kind of make it a little more distorted. He was like, let's purposely throw the focus. I was like, perfect, because if we throw the focus for a few seconds, you could kind of play it off. So I think Thomas had a good idea on that for sure.
I love that you're messing around with it, figuring out creative solutions.
There's nothing I like more than practical effects, and that's like as practical as you get. And I love seeing stuff like that because you can see that you guys are having fun, right? Like it doesn't have to be uber violent. It's shocking a bit, but like no, it's fun. It's a fun way to end the movie because you're like, fucking, of course, that's what happens to these guys.
Right,
Dude tells him 100 times, no, let's not go camp. I really want to go camping, bro. Well, you're gonna die. Like that's all I'm saying to myself in my head. Well, you're both gonna die, so go ahead.
One thing I tried to do with the camping scene was I was feel like kind of what you said, like everyone's like, the bear's gonna kill him eventually. But I was happy that like in the camping scene, like we actually didn't get killed and we actually go back later because I was expecting everyone thinking, oh, the tent,
You were
here
gonna
it
get
comes.
killed in the tent.
Here it comes.
That
And I
was
just
it.
wake
That
up.
for
Yeah.
me, right? You were dying in the tent. Like
Yeah,
that was pretty
exactly.
sure.
Yeah,
Because that's
so-
terrifying. Could you imagine being trapped in a tent as the bear's trying to come in after you?
Oof.
As soon as you guys started talking about your future, I was like, okay, this is the sign. This is it. They're done right now.
They're done. Yeah, no, we prolonged it just a little bit. We had one more, I think, breakfast conversation, and then that was it.
Well, at least homie got to have a moment of clarity and some toasted marshmallows
Yeah,
before
that's very true. Very true.
before he passed on.
They were very enjoyed.
How much of the dialogue was written versus just made up on the spot or like improvised, I should say?
Yeah, the very first scene where we're sitting down, like introducing the project, that was scripted, and we were trying to like really have that, sound right and coherent. But after that, it was all improv. Like those early 2000s films, I'm really inspired by. They were all like shot like very improv style. I think you get a really naturalistic performance. And we're not trained actors. I'm more into like the filmmaking side of it, and he's more into like the filmmaking producing side of it. But we needed people to, be in it, and it's hard to get people to go on your vision, especially when we don't have a lot of money to give them. So I was like, we're actors now.
You're like, we already paid our actors. It was like 18 jars of peanut butter.
Yeah, nope, yep, peanut butter, some marshmallows, and some student loans.
Oh man, I love that. This is a question about your future. Now that we're talking about since we talked about your future a little bit, now has this springboarded you in any sort of way? Like, are you predicting that you're going to have some things coming up in the future, or like that you might be able to use this for some sort of future success?
Yeah, I've been very happy with how it's been going. With this film, I've been able to meet like a lot of really cool people in the indie community. And I actually have like my own little podcast where I talk to other filmmakers, kind of like what y'all do as well. And I love that. I love talking to people. I love getting to know what they done, what I could do different. Or, oh, I like what they're doing. And it has been getting some decent traction. We're at like 8,000 views right now on YouTube's Stash TV. So I'm really happy about that. We're going to be very happy when it hits 10,000. It looks like it's on projections to do that. And then we're also on Fawson TV, and it's just really cool going on Roku and seeing your work there. So it's really cool, and we're making some money back between all the ways we can do that, and also day job and stuff. So I definitely want to be in it for the long haul with filmmaking. It's just what I love to do, and I don't think anything's gonna stop that.
Awesome. We need more like you that are willing to go out there because you have no net. You did it raw, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have anything to do this with. It was just a hope that you could make a product that could be seen, and doing it for the art is amazing.
Well, I
That's what
appreciate
we
that.
love the most. And you could see it in the work. Let me tell you, a lot of these independent films, and me and Nick talk about it a lot, you can tell by the body language of the actors whether this is something they're enjoying doing and like they're really trying, or if this is something that they're struggling through and just want it to be done. And it really affects the outcome of the movie and how you feel about it. So when you watch a movie like Payne's Branch, you get a lot of that, like, these guys are having a great time, they're busting it out. And it made me, a lot of these movies have a disengagement rate, right? Like I'll be watching them and I just like zone out and I start thinking about something else while the movie's still playing. I didn't do that with this one. I was dialed in
Wow.
with the boys. We were camping, we were working on school
Okay.
projects, we were stressed out, and it felt like I was put into that world as like the cameraman or a third observer or something. And so, if I give you one piece of advice, keep that energy moving forward as you go, because that's really what kind of turned me on about this movie. And so, was that intentional by you guys to like
Yeah,
just be
well,
chill?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for that compliment. I really appreciate it because that is
Yeah,
something
big
that we
boy.
were trying to do. We were kind of trying to make it like I'm not a huge fan of his work, but I like his interviews. Quentin Tarantino, I watch a lot of his interviews and stuff. I wouldn't say my work's anything like his, but I just kind of like his like creative process. And he's always talking about what do you always say? He's like, you got to just be yourself when it comes to filmmaking, and you got to have like a hangout movie. He always mentions movies like that's a good hangout movie. Like just sit down and just listen to it and enjoy it. And I kind of was like, I want this film to kind of be like you sit down, kind of what you said, just you're hanging out with the boys in college, you know. So I was like, this could be kind of a hangout film.
Yeah, I totally felt like I was a part of it, right? You guys did a really good job of feeling inclusive with your filmmaking. Like, I struggled with you guys. I did. That pizza was way too small for two growing boys.
We didn't have enough money to buy the big ones. All the money went to the
The
peanut butter.
breadstick comment, save me some bread, like I felt it. I'm like,
We,
yeah, I
we
know.
were we were legit hungry too. That was our dinner for the night. Actually, we saved. I think so, maybe it's one. I don't even know. We had it something microwave the next day.
I love that authenticity was in it though, because you could definitely tell you're like, okay, no, this is real. This is the real scene. They're shooting
Yep.
this, but this is just what's happening.
Yep. It's pizza night.
Let me ask you as one of our closing up questions here, and this is kind of something to think about, like in the future for maybe everyone. If you could describe what you think makes a horror movie effective today.
I think today it's so hard just in the sense that there's so much stuff and there's so many like things out there and so many things being made. I'll say for not as much effective when it comes like how to make your movie successful because ultimately I feel like that's all up to the person who's making it. That's their vision. But I would say to be successful you have to have motivation to do it. And what I like to do is I like to block out the noise. Like I keep up with what's going on, but a lot of times I'm more just keeping up with what I want to do and how I'm trying to go. So when I look at the indie world and I look at the movies, I don't feel overwhelmed by like how much is coming out because I'm very in my own bubble, and I think it's good for like creatives to kind of just stay in their own little lane and just make stuff, you know. But when it comes like what makes it effective, that's up to them. I trust them on that. Just do it, but don't look at other things and say I need to follow that trend or this is what I need to do. Look at it like this is what I need to do as my next project, as my next growth personally. That's how I look at it for sure. That's the best advice I could give for it.
I think what a lot, and this goes back to people acting disappointed in movies, comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so when you're trying to compare your art to everybody else's art, one, it's not apples and apples at all. But people
100%.
see what other people are doing and they want to reach that while not just playing in their own garden, and that's where you're going to get your best work done. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Good for
Yep,
you.
no, totally agree with that for
Keep
sure.
that mentality.
Will do. I'm gonna keep trying. So far, so good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I think that's all of our questions for you, Jake. Here, I want to give you a little springboard to like give yourself any shout outs, anything you'd like to get out there, like let people know where to find you next if you have anything coming up.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I want to say thank y'all for having me on. Y'all can check me out on Jake Casey double Y underscore on Instagram as well as YouTube. That's kind of my personal channel. And y'all can also check out my production company's Instagram and YouTube called Stay at Home Sons Productions. That's our little team because we're all stay at home kids, trying to get out, get our first place. But until then, stay at home. So y'all can check that out. And yeah, just keep making your art, y'all. Just keep putting it out there.
Wicked. We're definitely looking forward to you, Jake. You'll have two people rooting for you. Hopefully, we get to talk to you again in a future project, man.
Definitely, definitely. I'm working on my next future project probably sometime next year. So I'll definitely hit y'all up when that time comes.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks again for joining us. And joining us on today, Easter of all days. So we appreciate you a lot, Jake, for taking some time sitting with us.
For sure.
Welcome back to Additional Crew. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Jake, awesome interview. Thank you so much for giving it to us. Thank you
Good
so much
seeing
for
you, homie.
reaching
What a good
out.
guy.
Seriously. Just, keep doing your thing, man. We are rooting for you for sure. Let's talk about the movie now again. Creativity cinematography of Payne's branch. So with the creativity and cinematography, this is, as you heard him talking about, he does not have a lot of equipment here. He has an on-shoulder camera and a tripod. So with that in mind, I will give a lot of credit for what he was able to do here. Just because, there's almost nothing that is being put into this except for his heart, his sweat, and his ability to hold a camera, which means you have one person on camera when you can move it, and you have two people on camera when you can't move the shot.
The three-legged friend.
Which it is. So I'm trying to, because there weren't any scenes that I looked at and I was like, wow, this shot is boring.
Camera
this shot
quality
sucks.
was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Indicative of the hardware he was using. There's not much more you can do with it. Looked fine. The pacing, I think we talked about, for me, we talked about kind of with the acting. It felt like it tripped over itself at some points. He did kind of explain mumblecore though, and like I'm starting to get a vibe that like there might be more intention in that than I assumed, which I like. And if not, like I love building up fake things in my head anyway. So you just carry this forward, sir, and just be like, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, the pacing was stumbling. The cinematography was optimally misframed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't purposefully misframed, but great. That's what you would do.
Yeah, if like what you're going for is like what would a student film look like who don't know how to make movies, but you do know how to. You've hit it.
If you would have made it too clean, it wouldn't have looked right. Mm-hmm. Like.
And we have seen that, like, if anyone who listens to this watched the movie Shelby Oaks, like that's what that looks like when you try to do a found footage thing and then it looks way too clean. It's just off-putting. It kills the mood of the movie. This keeps the mood of the movie. So, like, as far as what they put together in totality, this works. I don't think there's anything I would call exceptionally beautiful. Of course, you hear about the shot with the intentionality of hiding the bear costume a little bit at the end when the camera falls and then there's the pan out. And he said it's a different word. I should probably learn more about cinematography and their techniques, but we'll get there at some point, I assume. So there's intentionality behind a lot of this, and that's great. I think it carried across the point it was supposed to make.
Sure.
Visually.
But the cinematography and pacing did no heavy lifting whatsoever.
No. 100%. Yeah, agree with you there. For me, when we did talk about editing and pacing. The pacing for me was an issue simply because the parts where you felt the real emotion were kind of hidden in the beginning, the middle, and the end, which means those filler parts in between hurt. So we needed, I think, a couple more like key scenes where you're really letting the emotion out. Yeah. And I think the pacing would feel a lot better.
I mean, I was hooked though. I felt for the kids with the pacing of the movie. Like never ending story style. Like, you're reading the book and watching them go and like, no, like there was a connection, but nothing felt pressing, and like there was a lot of that softness between those points, that lulling maybe, just kind of, okay, you're just hanging out waiting for something to happen, which is cool, but
I almost feel like there's opportunities here, and this isn't necessarily where I would imagine they wanted to go with this, but it felt like there was opportunities to learn more real facts about bears. And that doesn't feel like exactly what the movie would be about, but like that's when we were talking about looking at the books of the bears. I'm like, give me some real cool stuff. Like, drop me some way weird knowledge about them,
and also world building is never wasted time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say with the cinematography, choosing to shoot the actual film out in the woods, or at least in wooded areas nearby where you are, is always a good idea. Shooting on location gives character to any movie, and it does that as well here.
Yeah, I think a lot of that empty space could have been filled with nature shots, more education about bears, you know, or like build some world, like take the time to flesh things out just a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But whatever.
It mumbled.
Yeah.
It got me there.
Yeah. Sound? Do you have? I'm not gonna criticize
the soundtrack.
The sound.
Was excellent. Yeah. I really enjoyed his choices of music throughout the film. I thought that it brought a lot to the scenes, and no, I don't. The sound sounded like like some lavalier fucking microphones and a boom mic, you know, or like what are those shotgun mics? It was fine, you know. It didn't. Sorry, I was being sarcastic about the soundtrack. I don't remember there being a single song in the movie. And
just the one he plays on the guitar.
Correct, which was heartfelt and wonderful, by the way. Very good. That was awesome. I'm sorry. Yes, that was great. I meant everything I said before.
Yeah, it all comes back to this. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to work with here. It's okay. Like, this is one of those things where, like, the sound not having a lot, I think that fits the aesthetic pretty well of what we're going for. So,
yeah, no, I don't think it needed. When the sounds happen, like the bear snorkeling at the tent, like I think it adds a lot more when there has been nothing before, right? You know.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to hear the forest creak when you stepped on the floorboards, but that's a terrible joke. That's a joke. There was no need for the extra sounds. So, like, this is brief because this wasn't the point of it. Really, what the point of it was the character study.
Could you hear the guys talking? Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know, Adam, if you want to list out 3 favorite scenes here.
It would be redundant. There isn't a, you know, it'd be like, oh, the bear attacking the guy and the bear trying to get in the tent and them hanging up peanut. Like, it's inane for me to talk about it realistically because none of it was like, oh, that scene was so good, because the movie wasn't like that, right? As a whole, as one piece, I can talk about it, but yeah, but sure, 3 scenes, you know, them hanging up the peanut butter's funny because they're talking about it, and then they go around and look at the jars, and like one's empty and whatever, like gives you an insight to the kids and kind of like how they hunt and what that looks like there. The bear poking up against the tent, you know, just straight up practical effect and only using your stress, like trapped in a tight area and it's just you and vinyl between you and a bear. Like, yeah, that part worked. It worked great. And yeah, it was hilarious when the bear came flying out of nowhere and just suplexes you. That's awesome. Like, cool. Those 3 scenes are obviously, I would think, like the 3 times that I was like, what the fuck? You know, like really dialed in and paid attention to what was going on because of the oddity of it. But honestly, I think my favorite scenes were just the dudes talking. Honestly, I think I got the most out of the movie during those scenes, them sharing the pizza and trying to put the project together, them working on the trifold, like that stuff. But it's hard to be like this scene where they, you know, but those were my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I had separate ones, but those ones are good. I had the pizza scene where they don't have enough pizza.
The struggle meal, yeah.
The library,
and then in the interview, he tells us that was truly that was truly a struggle meal, people. So these are people doing their own stunt work.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And you can feel it, and that's like kind of the niceness of it. The library scene where they're, you know, picking up the children's books about bears and they're talking and they're, you know,
that was pretty funny.
Making fun of each other in like a very understandable way, you know, very friendly, very jovial way.
Children's book on bears.
This is a black bear. And then I also like the scene where they talk about the car breaking down and like how he has to borrow his friend's car, because that also felt really very real. Like, that's something that absolutely would happen to you if you ain't got enough money and then a car breaks down. It's a big issue. So having someone there who's working with you and making it work out, it's just awesome to have. And I should say, honorable mention to the camping scene at the end, because that is easily the part where you could tell that they were just like, let our aspirations of the future go and just say it on film right now. And we're going to release that. And that's going to go out there. And it was a little goofy, a little off, but also, I mean, imagine yourself saying your future goals on camera to a hopeful movie some people might watch, and it would probably be a little goofy, a little off too if you weren't a Hollywood actor.
It was touching.
Yes.
I liked it. It came from a very good place.
Mm-hmm. It did. Right after that song, you have this acoustic song, and then all
me,
that stuff.
It gets me, Nick, and that's why these movie reviews, as we move forward and get older, it's just I'm a sappy dude. And when I see people doing something they love and they're having a good time, and then they wrap it up with something like that, with a hope for the future, like, I'm just going to cheer these kids on. I love it. I love the movie because of that. It's not just a bunch of slop piled on with special effects and like shit's happening so fast that, you don't know your ass from your nose. Woo, here we go. Like boring.
Yeah, there's a lot of heart in this one. So like,
so I love that stuff. Like it's like these really work. They really worked on it, man. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That means so much more to me.
For the review, for the final review here, and I'll start off, Adam, so that way I give you a second to think and see what I'm doing here, and maybe you'll do your own thing. Because again, we've talked about this. This can't be a normal review because this isn't the exact sort of movie that gets a normal review, and that in and of itself is probably a little bit of a review. If you are looking to watch a movie that is made with passion, has heart, shows the rough edges that it exists within, but still gives you something interesting to see, this movie is a good movie to watch. If you are looking for a movie to scare you, to wow you with images,
now, it might scare you if you're just graduating college. The world's terrifying.
Maybe. If you're looking for the prototypical horror mockumentary found footage movie, you're not going to get that here. And I think it's better to go into it understanding that this is not really even a thriller. It just has one element that brings it to that. This is a movie that you are watching these two guys even accidentally in their real lives grow through. And if you were interested in that, this is a movie well worth watching. And if you are not interested in that, and that's not where your head's at, and you want something scary, you shouldn't watch this movie.
Yeah.
So, and I just mean that honestly. And like, Jake, I think you got a future ahead of you if you're listening to this. So, and I would say that for anyone, if you want to get in on the ground floor with someone who I think has a lot of opportunities here for them, this is a great place to start because you'll see the whole trajectory from right here. And with the amount of optimism and the amount of work and the amount of just everything he's putting into this, I can see it remaining in a version of success of its own. But it's a micro budget movie without anything other than special or practical effects that exist only because they were willing them into existence.
Yeah.
You get this, and I would say I'm optimistic on it, and I'm not going to give it a letter grade or a number grade because it doesn't make sense. Keep doing what you're doing. This is a good movie to watch if you want to see heart and real people coming through on film.
Excellent. It's not what I thought it was going to be when I watched it. I thought it was going to be a corny horror movie about a bear eating people in the woods, found footage style, maybe Blair Witch, That was my assumption when I started watching the movie in the headspace I was in. As I watched through it, I started to realize, wow, this is a character piece. And I likened it in my head to the time to Clerks and Kevin Smith's first movie and how he used a space and an idea to go inside people's heads and create a conversation. And there's a lot of movies and things that do that on low budget. Once I kind of understood the vibe of the movie and the way, at least how it felt to me and the way that it was rolling, I became very comfortable with it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really like people who make movies with something to say. And I really, really like people who take risks with no budget art just because they need to say something. Given those two things, I have nothing but respect and love for it. I will give you a vibe score. You're somewhere, for me, like somewhere in the 80s. Keep doing this. Keep killing it. Like, it makes me happy. It makes me feel good to see kids out there trying and doing things in a way, you know, you ain't got a silver spoon and you don't got people paying for this. You're doing this with nothing and you're hurting yourself to do it. And I'm sure you're probably hurting the people around you doing it. And I'm sure everybody struggles taking care of you. What I'm saying is it's passion and it's felt. And that's very, very, very important in a movie. It's really kind of all that matters to me. Unless you have super rad practical effects with puppets. Me and Nick do have an idea about a movie with puppets that's like Call of Cthulhu-esque, but with puppets. So, you know, hit us up.
We'll be there for that. If someone hits us up, we'll do that. That's fine.
But yeah, I went into this movie expecting chocolate. I got vanilla, and it was very good.
So, before we wrap it all up, I will say a couple things. So, if you are in Eugene, Springfield area, and you're listening to this, the month of May is going to have a whole bunch of events at Mecca, and those are hosted, put on, whatever words, by additional crew, and of course the awesome folks who work at Mecca, the people who put together actual events, because you know what, honestly, they're the ones doing most of the work. So like all credit should go to them, but we're just helping them move that along. So if you are in the area, feel free to check out Mecca. You know about them. They're downtown. They do art. And if you don't know about them, check it out because there's something cool there. I can promise it. So also, we'll have a booth at the Short Circuit 40th anniversary, and we'll be there selling stuff. I don't know exactly what we're going to be selling yet, but stuff, it'll be there. We'll be there.
I want to meet Ali Sheedy so bad.
Well, maybe you'll be able to sell her VHS tape.
If nothing else, like I'm going to bring Short Circuit. I'm trying to get it signed.
Right. That's like one of the few I have out of sealed copy.
And also
of.
at Mecca, if you come out, you'll get to see some of our very neat things. Something about me and Nick that we don't do a lot on here. We do talk about it a little bit. Our physical media collections are neat. We'll just say that. They're neat. So come down, so we'll have some awesome stuff there, how to fix it, how to keep it nice, and like how to take care of it so it lasts for a long time. Because there's physical media will never be touched by digital media. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. Not even close.
And luckily for the younger generations, there seems to be some understanding of that. However, there's probably not a lot of understanding of what you had to go through to keep it good or know whether or not it was good in the first place. And that's kind of what we're doing it.
Jake, homie, I do custom VHSs just for me, for fun. Hit me up and I will make you a Payne's Branch, if you want it, a Payne's Branch custom VHS movie for you with like all the labels and everything. It'll be sick. I love doing stuff like that too.
And that's one.
And so we'll teach you that at Mecca too.
Yeah. So do check it out. It's the month of May. There's a handful of different events, so you're gonna just have to check out a calendar. I don't have them all listed.
So the Short Circuit thing in Astoria. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. So there's been a bunch of movies filmed in Astoria, Oregon, right? You had like The Goonies is probably the most popular one. Kindergarten Cop was filmed there. Short Circuit was filmed there. Some great movies. Anyways, how long has it been?
I think it's 40 years, 40th anniversary.
Stop it. Just stop. I'm so old. Yeah, and I remember when it was being filmed there because I'm from the area. I'm from near Astoria, like that. Anyways, my grandparents lived in Longview. It's right down the road. And they like throw Johnny Five off the Astoria Bridge and stuff. But anyways, Astoria is awesome, and they're doing, come meet Steve Gutenberg's going to be there, and Ali Sheedy's going to be there, and I bet you they roll out Johnny Five. It's probably, dude, it's going to be so sick. So we're going to set up a little table there and do awesome things. I think I'm going to make a bunch of buttons too to hand out. Johnny Five on them.
Yeah, it'll be sweet. So these are a few opportunities you can come and check us out in the flesh, doing things out in the community. Hopefully there's more of those, but we'll keep you kind of in tune here. So
the goblin doesn't leave his hole very often. Like I told Nick with the physical media collecting, I can barely get in and out of this room at this point in my life. Soon it's just going to be like, nah, I just stay here and people delivering DoorDash to my window.
Yeah.
I have a grabber stick that just reaches out and grabs the bag.
It doesn't sound so bad. I mean, the bathroom situation might be a
Brother,
little
if I
awful,
had
but
one of those Wally chairs that took care of my bathroom for me, I'm in. Whatever. I don't care anymore. The world's terrible.
but these are good things. These are good things to go check out, and we will be teaching some stuff. So come and check them out again. That is, check out Mecca. Oh, dude, I was gonna give the whole acronym, but it turns out I only don't know it after Material Exchange. So check out Mecca downtown, Eugene, Springfield, if you're in the area, and then the Short Circuit 40th anniversary, that is in Astoria, and we will be there. We've secured a table, so we're excited to be there. We'll be either selling some stuff and saying hey to people. So
Probably doing a lot of recording and saying hi to people's stuff too. So if you actually do like us, like come down and I want to highlight people and talk to people about movies. So that's all I care about is physical media and movies and my family anymore. That's all I have bandwidth for.
Well, in the world the way it is, one thing that I've always known.
I like plants too. Plants are cool.
One thing that I've always said, and I think has remained true to this point, is that art is the one media in which they can't stop people from expressing what it means to be alive and to be human. You can talk about AI, you can talk about the state of politics, you can talk about all of this. You know what? There's a movie that's already explored these ideas and thoughts, and there's infinite possibilities of new movies in the future that can explore and identify these thoughts and feelings.
I don't need all the remakes. Do some stuff, I'm tired.
You don't need a new Escape from New York, you telling me?
No, I don't. It's called. I did. It was called Escape from LA. It was great.
Sorry, every time someone says it's great, I think of the surfboard chasing a car scene, and I just laugh. It's like, my goodness.
Oh, you know what I like.
No, it's funny. It's great. So the next movie that you'll catch on the Additional Crew channel, we'll be reviewing the movie Lone Star from 1996. That is a very interesting film that doesn't get talked about very much by John Sayles. So check that out. Then listen to that podcast. Until then, now that's a peanut butter mess we'll fix later.